The Walt Disney World Resort is suffering a historic attendance crash, but at the same time, it seems like Disney can't stash away a single Lightning Lane Premier Pass enough to satisfy the uber rich. Those who are ultra wealthy are lining up to pay Disney big money to skip the line. And it turns out that's making everybody else with less dime really unhappy. We'll explain right now. Hello, folks, and welcome to the Kingdom of YouTube, where we explain the Magic Kingdom that's turned into the Tragic Kingdom for you. What are we talking about? Well, it turns out that Disney is now charging huge amounts of money to the ultra-rich to skip every single line and not waste their time with a bunch of plebes like you. And the ultra-rich are only too happy to pay that amount. Well, sadly, though, everyone else must pout, and legitimately so, for all the lines are slowing down due to what Disney is doing with those Lightning Lane Premier Passes. We'll explain why this is a punitive service that hurts the overall experience, and also why Disney flat out does not care. Click the like button, and here we go. Folks, here we have from me. Well, no, it's really from Scott Gustin. We'll start with Scott, then we'll have what I say. Scott Gustin says, Lightning Lane Premier Pass is selling out quickly for Thanksgiving week. Both Magic Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios are sold out for November 25th, and Magic Kingdom is now sold out for November 26th. As you can see, these prices are insane. Disney's Hollywood Studios, although still available for the particular day that's showing, $329. And don't forget that that includes, or does not include, that you have to buy a deluxe hotel room to even have access to purchase it. And deluxe hotel rooms have an average cost of about $700, although for the holidays, I would say that a deluxe hotel room has an average that's way higher, maybe $900, maybe $1,000. So you're talking about huge amounts of money that are being spent for people to be able to skip every single line. Now, here's what I said back to Scott Gustin. And I don't have any issues with Scott Gustin. His reporting is accurate. I like the stuff he does. So very, kudos to Scott. No, there's no animosity whatsoever. I say it was never a question of whether or not the richest would buy it. It's always been that when they do, the lines slow down for everyone else. It hurts the experience for middle-class guests, and that is the vast majority. Folks, pay very close attention to thrill data. I want you to see this. November right now has an average wait time of 29 minutes. And remember, these are correlated to attendance, we believe. If we go back to the last November, let's go find it. Where are you last November? 2023, the average wait time was 35 minutes. If we go back to 2022, 41 minutes. And remember that 2000 and 2021, we really can't count because they were not operating normally. But if we go back to pre-pandemic, what we find out is that November had a 41-minute wait time average across all of Disney World. Right now, it's at 29 minutes. And that is despite and in spite of all of these Lightning Lane changes that slow down the lines considerably. So the lines are moving slower, and yet the wait times are going down, 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 which would seem to me to indicate that attendance is really down. And you saw that if you watched the Pro Show a little bit earlier. You saw that Marvin the Movie Monster was out there walking through Epcot, and it's rather vacant. Right. So the way that I'm looking at this is crowds are crashing, and Disney's cashing in on the richest people, and it's slowing down the wait for everybody, because if you are selling out all of those Lightning Lane Premier Passes, well, the only thing that can mean to me is that you have maxed out the number of people who can skip the line in front of everybody else. And those everybody else's, the people who paid $200 to get through the turnstiles, they're stuck watching the $400,000 and up club move right on by. Ron, I'll give you the first word on this one. What do you think about Lightning Lane Premier Pass selling out? Are you surprised by it? And do you think that it's actually slowing down the lines now where standby is even slower than it was before? Maybe it's crawl by now. Crawl by line.
I'm not surprised it's selling out Thanksgiving week. I mean, I think that's kind of what it's designed for. I've told people in the past, I have never bought a Lightning Lane. I will never buy a Lightning Lane. It's not, I mean, of course, I do have the advantage.
This is a step above that because, Ron, can you explain for the folks out there listening the difference in a Lightning Lane and a Lightning Lane Premier Pass.
Right. So and this is what's funny. First of all, there is a difference in the price. There is no difference in the place you are going to wait. Very, very important note. If you buy a Lightning Lane multipass, you are paying about $39 per person in your party for the privilege of basically what a fast pass used to be, which was free. In other words, you can go and throughout the day, you can go on your phone and choose what the next ride you're going to get in line for. And now you got a shorter line. Now the Premier Pass means you do not have to be on your phone and you can hit every single attraction and you just walk up to the attraction and you can enter the Lightning Lane. The biggest challenge that I have with that is it's literally the same lane that people have paid the $39 for. So if you paid $3.90 or $39, you're going into the same line. In other words, it doesn't speed up.
But it just adds more people to the Lightning Lane, which means everything slows down. The problem is that Lightning Lane Premier gives people a pass to every single attraction. Yes. So it exponentially increases how slowly everyone else is going. And that, again, this is a pattern that diminishes the overall customer experience at Disney parks. It's crazy. Yeah.
So if you're paying thousands of dollars for your vacation and you do not add any type of Lightning Lane, yes, your experience is definitely diminished, especially versus what it was a few years ago when the Fast Pass was just included in the price and was part of the Disney difference. And I have noticed they do not use that terminology anymore. When I first worked for the company in 2014, I was taught the Disney difference and to use that in marketing as much as possible. We're Disney. We're very different than the other company. And when we said different, we were saying better, right? So it was like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The Disney difference is the Disney is better. They can't do that anymore. Because in fact, Disney is worse. The way they do this, if you know that at Universal, this is actually something that you get for free if you stay at one of their premium hotels. And it's exactly the opposite at Disney. If you're staying at the highest cost hotel, you have the privilege of being able to buy now the higher cost, skip the line pass, if you will. So it's just the value in taking a Disney vacation. If you are, let's say, a middle-class family now, the value is diminished so much. If you wanted to try and pay to stay on property, to pay for a Pop Century room is now almost $200 a night, I think, which is a lot of money. If you are a struggling family and you just want to take your kids to their dream come true place of Walt Disney World, and a lot of people still have that in their minds, it's just made it almost impossible for the average or middle-class family to come and take a decent vacation. And so many are going now and coming home. And I see this all the time with, this is the first time I got to take my family to Disney, and the wait times were outrageous. The parks aren't even busy, but it really will seem busy if you get into a line and it's all of the Lightning Lane people that are passing you, and you're waiting for 45 minutes and you still paid $800 for your family of four just to get into the park. And then these people are passing you simply because they are elite. It's not inclusive. Let me just put it this way. For me, that's the best way that I can put it. Disney is all about the exclusive experience. They are not about being inclusive to every demographic of people.
I think you're exactly right. And the problem with services such as this is it's a punitive service to everyone who can't afford it. So correct. When Disney or any company does something, you want it to be an additive service. So let's say that you're going to the grocery store, for example, where prices are insanely high. But you go to the grocery store, and let's say that they offer some sort of checkout that gets you through the checkout line really fast, okay? But you got to pay $10 for it, okay? As long as it doesn't slow down the other checkout lines, then it's great, because everybody has the same great experience, but those who want to pay more can get an extra perk. Now, let's say that they remove half the registers to put in the super speedy checkout, and there's only one or two registers. and it's $50. Well, now you have lines backing up at the regular cash registers, and nobody's happy because you have punished your regular guest. And I think that's what Disney is doing. Vash, do you see it the same way?
I do. I actually do, because you're splitting the line now up 5 different ways. And remember, these attractions have a set capacity. You cannot increase capacity for any given attraction. There are certain areas in which you can maybe have more staff or maybe add more ride vehicles if that attraction allows. But really, that is a fixed capacity. So if you're splitting the line up 5 different ways, that's the standby, that's disability access service, that's tour groups, multipass lightning lane, and now this premier pass lightning lane. Well, that's obviously you're having to restrict the throughput for one of those in order for the other to make way. This is why we talk about ratios for some of these attractions. Say, for example, you have an attraction that's 1,500 people per hour, let's say, right? And you have 15 people in line. And yet you have a ratio in which, is obviously going to be more predisposed to letting in people who have actually paid to be in the lightning lane. So that's going to be like your tour groups, for example, or perhaps in this case, Lightning Lane Premier Pass, there's going to be a heavier emphasis placed on that cast member to get people through even faster in order to provide people that $400 worth of service that they've just purchased. Well, let's say that ratio now is 99 to 1. Well, for the 15 people waiting in that line is now an hour because you can only let in 1,500 people per hour on that attraction. So that's why this is really punitive towards these guests. This is why when Pro actually brings this up, it's hurting the overall guest experience because you're having to ratio those lines even further in the paid direction, leaving less capacity available for those people in standby. A lot of people were kind of excited about the prospect of a Premier Pass Lightning Lane service because theoretically you could eliminate the multi-pass Lightning Lane, which is overused, it's oversold, and restrict it to only Premier Pass Lightning Lane usage. Now, a lot of people might be asking, well, wait a minute. Well, what about the people who want to, give $30 or $40 for an attraction or for a day's worth of attractions at a given park? Well, because that overusage is so high, because that oversaturation is so high, and we've heard numbers as high as 60% from Disney's own earnings calls, again, that standby moves at a crawl. Whereas if you replace it with a Premier Pass service like this and you heavily regulate it, then not only do the Premier Pass Lightning Lane users who are in the same Lightning Lane as what Ron pointed out with the other Lightning Lane users, that Lightning Lane moves faster, and so does the standby. So that's kind of the difference right here. That's why Universal's system doesn't really inhibit the standby as much as maybe say Disney's, because it's very heavily regulated. They do sell out on many days, and it's so expensive, it prevents people from oversaturating the system. And that's kind of the issue that we have right there. I think Disney's going to look at this and go, oh, look, a new revenue stream. Let's go ahead and saturate this. We can talk about it on our earnings calls and say, hey, we found a way to monetize the parks even further. And they're desperate to do that. We just saw their Q4 2024 fiscal year figures, and they didn't look so good on the park side. I think the experiences division on operating income, that's Disney's terminology for profit, was minus 6%. And even though domestic was up, international was way down. I think it was minus 32% year over year, which is huge. That's a massive change. So they're looking to get any profit they possibly can in order to make their financial situation look better than it is. And we know that attendance is down at Walt Disney World. We've seen it in the thrill data, as you've astutely pointed out there, bro. We've seen it in multiple levels, and they're trying to overcome that attendance downturn with charging for these extra cost items like Lightning Lane Premier Pass. They're trying to make up for that revenue loss by charging more. And that's a dangerous game that Disney's playing, and one that's not sustainable. But if you're a manager or if you're a park operator who maybe won't be there in 2-3 months, well, consequences be damned.
I agree 100% with Vash for sure. I just think that here's what it looks like to me. It looks like the company has gone desperate. And what happens when you go desperate is you don't think about the guest experience anymore, which is exactly the opposite of what they need to do to actually make money. If you want it, to me, the way to make more money is actually to improve the guest experience so that more people want to come in. Lower the prices a little bit, give incentives for people to come, make it a better guest experience overall, make it so that when I walk into the Magic Kingdom, I am seeing the world in as its ideal, as I used to, like 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was fantasy. It was ideal. You look at the costuming, you look at the people working there, the cast members. You didn't see, and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody that has tattoos or anything, but you didn't see tattoos because maybe that's not ideal to everybody. Now, see, a tattoo is something that doesn't matter if you don't see it, but it does matter if you do see it. Some people might like it, some people might not, and then you start dividing things. If you don't see it, it's fine. And we're not seeing the ideal.
A tattoo also can deviate from whatever it is you're trying to present. So if you're in Frontierland at Magic Kingdom and somebody has a giant SpongeBob tattoo, it pulls you out of the illusion. Now, I want to say, guys, because we do have to wrap this topic up, but I want to say one of the other things that I find really sad about this, tragic, is that the hyper-focus on these DLC extra monetization angles at Disney is that they're looking at Rivers of America, they're looking at Tom Sawyer Island, and they're saying, darn it, we can't make extra money on water and trees. And so if you want to know how it is that you lose beauty in the parks, it's because they can't charge you Lightning Lane money to look at trees, to look at water, to sit down on a bench, to have an ice cream or a turkey leg with your kid and wait for the parade. That can't be monetized, so it has no value in the minds of Disney. And yet again, folks, we have come to the end. But what a video it has been, and we hope you agree. Folks, if you had a good time with us, consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment right on down below. We care about your thoughts. Folks, we also want to invite you to partake in thatparkplace.com. Of course, www. You get the idea. Thatparkplace.com. It is the website telling the truth, and it is a rising star across the web for pop culture news coverage and analysis. Go over there and bookmark it today. Folks, we're bookmarking you as a great guest that we appreciate. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, folks, you better believe it, keep having fun.